All right, let's get into some actual news because we're kind of sticking with film festivals for the first jump of it.
Yeah, and the film festival that we end up spending probably the most time talking about, Sundance.
The most
It
time,
might,
the most money, the most energy, the most heat.
yeah. Well, we'll see how
not
much
anymore.
money we spend on it in the future because Sundance might be set to leave its traditional homeland of Park City, Utah, the place that the festival was founded by Robert Redford and where it's
Damn.
continued to blossom for over 40 years. Sundance is currently contracted to stay in the city of Park City for 2025 and 2026, but they have opened the bidding for a potential new location in 2027. They'll be hearing pitches from a host of cities across the U.S. Over the course of the next month. And I don't know, there's a couple different ways to think about this, but Art, where would you like to see Sundance 2027 hosted?
I'm gonna give you my destination. I'm going to give you the one that I kind of want. Obviously, Chicago seems like a viable option because you don't usually say, we're going to move, and they haven't tested something out. Look at what they're testing out. It's the Chicago one. They have one in London that's going, but that's far enough away, right? Mm-hmm. I think Chicago is good. We'll break down everything there in a little bit. But I think something that's the complete opposite of winter would also be an interesting aspect to it. So that way you have a clear chapter of what was Sundance at one point and then what is the next Sundance. Even with the cold, it was a destination to be at. With the snow and the skiing. There's that Abel Ferreira clip that's going around where he says, there was LA agents and skis. Hilarious stuff. It is an amalgamation of something interesting that happens up in Utah. But go do it in Florida if you want the complete opposite. Still make it a destination the other way around. Go from cold to hot. What are your top?
I don't know. I mean, so I'm of two minds, right? Because there's like a part of me that is, romantic about it and doesn't ever want to see Sundance leave Park City because, what is Sundance if there aren't movies premiering at the Egyptian Theater? I am real about it though, and like I didn't go to the Egyptian Theater the last time I was at Sundance. It is a hike, right? And it's very cold up there, and as we alluded to, it costs a lot of money for Sundance. That's really the thing that I think prevents so many people from getting to experience it is that it is exorbitantly expensive to go and stay there. And I like the idea of America's premier film festival being more accessible than it currently is. So I understand the idea of moving it somewhere where you're not competing with rich skiers for hotel space. That being said, I think if like Sundance ends up in Miami, I don't know if I'd ever want to go to Sundance again. My fear is that it ends up
why?
My fear is that it ends up at some like really trendy city that like is more there for it's ends up being part of like this like growth area where it's like too restaurant focused and not enough focused on because like the thing is you needs to be somewhere that can accommodate having several great movie theaters. And that's why I actually do kind of like your suggestion of Chicago. I don't want it to be New York or LA since those are kind of the premier,
can't be, right?
Like those are like it's not a destination, right? That's the backyard of the film industry. As convenient as it would be for me to have it in New York, I just don't feel like it makes sense. But you need somewhere that has like several theaters that can accommodate a large festival like Sundance. And, Chicago does have a lot of like high-end movie theaters and a lot of screens. I don't know exactly where they would consider hosting it, but it,
I'm
has
so glad you asked here because I have. I do have a breakdown for that, but I like what you're saying there.
But it's also a city with the infrastructure to handle, a bunch of people visiting. It's not going to be like Chicago runs out of hotel space because the film festivals in town.
And we don't have that big film festival, no disrespect to what we have here.
Right.
But AFI and like you said, Hollywood is going. New York Film Festival just happens months prior. Plus the guy
we talked
who's
about
running
Tribeca.
it now. Tribeca too, that's about to happen. So it's like, why would it be there? I don't think it's looking for a coast, unless like you're saying maybe Miami all the way at the bottom. Mm-hmm. My other options before I break down Chicago is Texas and Las Vegas.
Yeah, so I could see Las Vegas, but again, that sort of feels like too trendy to me.
For sure.
I just feel like
can it be off Las Vegas? Because you brought up that great point that Sundance is Park City.
Right.
adjacent, not Salt Lake.
Reno? Sundance Reno?
Hey, why not? Because think about it, right? They also kind of want a place where all the LA people are just booting for a little bit, just a bit. That's why they have Telluride over there in Colorado. So I don't see it being Colorado,
Denver?
Right?
I wouldn't be opposed to Denver.
That steamboat place that we passed by, that was pretty nice. Hey, the Overlook Hotel, they're free now. All right, Chicago. Here's my breakdown. I'll start with the negatives, and then I'll do my pitch for why we need it. For starters, I think in Chicago, you do have a lot of space, but there's snow in the cold in Utah. You've been here, bro.
Mm-hmm. We have driven through
outside
Chicago on our way to Sundance twice, and both times it was colder in Chicago than when we got to Utah.
We leave, and we leave the vortex behind. So why would I want people coming here? It would have to be different dates right off the bat. We have a different type of cold in Chicago. Why would y'all want that? It doesn't make any sense. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Infrastructure-wise, I think it works beautifully. Name me the theaters, and I'll name you a Chicago freaking theater. That's how set I am with us having it already. Go.
So what's the Egyptian then? Is it the Music Box or is it the Gene Siskel?
It's the Music Box. It's so simple. It's already there. You have your iconography with it. Music Box has stuff all year round. For it to be something that they can now boast, hey, remember Sundance is coming up, and Sundance can keep reminding you with pictures of the Music Box that actually has its name. Beautiful. What are they doing with the Egyptian the rest of the year? Yeah, an actual marquee. I think that's so beneficial than the Egyptian theater that showcased what? They showcased what? Like, come on now. I think the Music Box is bigger than the Egyptian and is better than the Egyptian.
All right. So then what's your Ray Theater? I know you love to watch movies at the Ray.
I love the Ray Theater. I would actually say that you can double it up on the Ray with the Gene Siskel, because there's a thing that happens in downtown Loop where you have the Chicago Theater, the Gene Siskel, and then an AMC Theater. You have a multiplex where they could do a bunch of stuff. You even have the New City Theater, and where they host the Chicago International Festival, which is the River East Theater. All those theaters are train rides away, kind of, for the most part. Sundance has never had a problem with you keeping it up to yourself. Sundance also has the money to pay for shuttles. We've never had the infrastructure that Sundance money brings us, right? But it's the Chicago Theater that I'm leveling up there with your Eccles. Because the Eccles at South by is the Paramount. I'm telling you right now, the Chicago Theater bigger than both of those, and it's sexier than both of those, and it's better than both of those.
You sure there's not a... You sure there's not a Chicago high school that we can take over?
Absolutely not. You don't want to go to no CPS. That's ridiculous. No. I found out when I went to go see a comedian there last year that it is one of the most beautiful theaters that we have. It's not even close. The comedian began with, hey, yo, the Vic sucks. This is where it's at. And I saw posters from the 90s when we used to have the International Film Fest there. And we dropped the ball here. So we need a film festival to come here and pick up what the critics, what the International Fest aren't doing. That's a whole venue that you can do showings in the morning and still have people perform at night. But depending on the dates, you don't have a lot of performers in January. So have movies.
Right,
I have it all laid out, bro.
Well,
I need an IMAX theater here, so I need the funding.
You do bring up an interesting point, too, because it's not just where Sundance goes in terms of the future of Sundance, but Sundance moving to a city really impacts what other festivals are in that city. You know, like Chicago has the Critics Fest in a couple of weeks, and they have their International Film Festival in the fall. And you have to imagine one of them, if not both of them, are going to kind of pale in comparison to what people are. How many trips to Chicago is a movie going to make if they premiere at Sundance? Are they going to want to play there again 3 months later for Chicago Critics Fest?
International gets some stragglers because that's in October, but it doesn't really play the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
New York will play something, and then it's a spotlight film at Sundance. It don't really happen the other way.
Exactly.
Meaning that they're picking up an international for the fall, all the TIFF stuff. Venice, new releases. Chicago Critics, that's about to happen, is literally made up of mostly Sundance movies. I think that's why people from the Chicago Critics were tweeting about, we got to worry about me, bro. You wouldn't be tweeting this if you didn't have a festival. Me. Yeah. That's what you're doing, bro. Come on. Look, at that point, that's lame because you're not choosing the city. You're choosing yourself. The city would need Sundance. Sundance would boost it to a degree that it's never had. Move your festival. Have it be a summer festival. But you're right. Sundance comes here. There's no reason to come back 3 months later for this. They were already here.
Right.
I'm choosing Sundance. I'm sorry, and I'll be reporting back this summer because I'm curious how they're going to do it this summer. Sundance in the summer.
I mean, it is nice to get to a warm weather festival, but part of Sundance is that fresh new year, fresh new movies, January,
fresh new snow.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they upped it at Utah. I don't know. I don't know.
It's not a done deal, and I'm sure the city of Park City really doesn't want to lose out on the money they get from tourism and stuff like that. I know Sundance is also has some conflicting interests, given that they celebrate film from a diverse crowd of people, and there are transgender bathroom laws going on in Utah that make it so some of their premier filmmakers don't feel safe being in the state. It's. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are ultimately going to go into the decision, and I feel like it's also worth adding to all this that while yes, the Sundance Festival does originate in Utah, they're not playing the movies, or they're not for the public at the original location of Sundance anymore. The Sundance Mountain Resort is a private event, so I don't know. I know I'm gonna at least try and be there for what could be the final 2 years of Sundance in Park City.
Is that why they're doing this? After that, just to make sure that their numbers come back? It might be the last one.
The hot dog strategy.
The hot dog strategy. Programmers soon to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Let y'all know. Let us know your thoughts down below where you would like to see it. Everyone's just going to name their city.
Right. How about in New Jersey?
There we go.
Yeah, I love it.